Yo. Yo. All right. I think that's pretty good. Well, hey, hey, hey. Yo, yo, what up, everybody? Everybody's jumping in already. That's good. Happy Thursday. I'm proud of you, Bolts. I'm proud of you. I usually have 2 or 3 poops a day myself, so I'm good too. That's it. Fucking Ozzy. It's all about fucking Diary. One of the greatest albums ever. Ever. El Salvador, what's up? What up? Howdy, y'all. Aldo. Hope you enjoyed your package, bro. My package. Damn straight. What's up? What's up, Jake? It's gonna be one of those shows, huh? Is that how we do it? Just hanging out. Cheersing it up. Hope everybody's fucking kicking ass tonight. Thursday. Fucking Thursday. Yeah. Thursday. Been cranking a lot of NWA lately myself, so I'm getting back into the groove again. It's been a while since I've listened to a lot of NWA. As I mean, obviously when all that stuff came out, man, we all listened to all of it, like all the time, man. It's just all of it. Eazy-E, Yella, fucking Ren, all of it, right? All good stuff. I don't mind Dre's The Chronic. I liked it. It was a good album. After that, but it's about the Chronic, right? What up, Vaughn? What's up? What's on the menu tonight? I don't know. You're gonna have to watch and listen. That's how we do it. That's how we do it. Welcome, everybody. We're hanging out. Hanging out down here. I don't know what is down here. What do we call this here? I don't even know. I didn't even give it a name. Interesting. Poop DeVille. I don't know. What's up, Vaughn? What's up, Jay? Oh, Metal Dan. Metal Dan's kicking in here. What is this? The only one you're gonna watch because it's because of our guest tonight, Dan? Is that the only reason why? Oh, Metal Dan, longtime friend, man. Fucking one of my best buds. What up? What up? So yeah, let's hang out. Get some low res. Listen to that shitty fuzz. Fuck face. It's been way overdue. This sucks. This fucking sucks. Wild turkey. I haven't had a drink in about a week now. I know who you are, Tyler. You don't have to explain. It's all good, bro. Fucking A, man. Where was this show filmed? I don't know. Maybe we'll have to ask. I'm assuming he's watching, so we'll see. We'll see. Well, I guess we'll see. We'll see if he knows that what that show was. We'll bring that back up again too, if anything. We're just going Swedish. just like that. Eh? Just like that, it cuts off. That's just how it is. Fucking A, everybody. How's it going? How's it going there? Hope everybody's doing okay. I think I am. It's been a long week. Very long weeks. Weeks are just crawling into each other. Day after day. Night after night. This is just what we do. We're just figuring it out. Because we don't even know what the fuck's going on, right? Because we don't even know what's happening.
Yo.
What up, my man?
How's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. I tried to see what you meant, but I couldn't really find it on YouTube. I don't know what happened, but...
Yeah, what was that here? Shit, it was old Carnage footage. And let's see here. Yeah, because I had a few people asking me already going, what show was that? And pretty much I was like, yeah, I'm not too sure, bud. Because I wasn't there.
Well, we didn't play that many shows, so...
Oh, really?
Back then, it was kind of hard, to get shows for youngsters like us.
Right. So how many shows do you think you guys played? Like just a couple, I guess, and then that was it?
Probably like 2 or 3.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
We did one show with the band who later became Dissection in John's old hometown, this coastal town on the Swedish west coast outside of Gothenburg.
Well, there you go. So, everybody who's just tuning in, this is LG from Entombed. How you doing tonight, though, man? Everything good?
I'm good, absolutely. How you doing?
It's just, unfortunately, these days are just kind of just blending into each other every day, and we're trying to find something to keep us, positive and motivated and everything. And it just, it's just, I don't know if it's getting tougher. It's kind of getting annoying, I guess.
Right. That's how I feel. It's getting annoying now. It's like, what next? Like, is this how it's going to be forever? Or
honestly,
will we get to play some shows in a couple of years or later this year? I hope, but
don't say a couple of years. Don't say that.
No, I know. I don't want to jinx it. But that's how it feels. When you start getting a little bit depressed because of how everything is right now. It's just like, all right, and you see shows like still lined up. Late fall and all that, early fall too. Still not canceled or postponed. Like you're crossing your fingers as hard as you can, but. It's starting to look bad, for this year at least.
Oh, it's looking terrible. Because, obviously all the headlines everywhere is like, we're probably not going to see shows till like 2021, right?
Exactly. And it's another thing too. Like, let's say some country in Europe that was like Sweden, for example. If they don't get hit harder than they have already, we have one show in August. We have one show in Canada. Are we going to be able to do that mid-August or not? Are we even if the shows are going on and they're kind of decimated and we'll still roll? How am I going to get out of New York City to Sweden and get back here without being put in a quarantine camp or whatever? You know what I mean? It's like I don't want to do that.
Well, and the thing is too, if you travel, you got to spend 14 days in quarantine, so you got to go there 2 weeks early then.
Exactly. 2 weeks early there, and then 2 weeks to wait here until I can get back home. That's like, not great. Not great.
Yeah, because you're supposed to be coming to Quebec in September or whatever.
Yeah, so we are supposed to play the Friday before Quebec City or Montreal. We're supposed to play in Stockholm. So we're supposed to play Stockholm, headline that show on the Friday night, then fly straight to Montreal and headline that show. So I really hope that happens, but it's not looking good.
Unfortunately, everyone's just dropping shows as the days go. Unfortunately, even into September, October, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
So annoying.
I know. Fingers crossed. Come on, everybody. So you're hanging out in New York, and obviously, just you're probably just sitting around, just writing riffs. I'm assuming.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm doing. My wife is working. She's an essential worker, so I'm happy for that. I got out of of course, all the venues are closed, so I've been unemployed for 9 weeks now. So I'm writing riffs and playing drums at home, exercising as much as I can. It's kind of hard to go out. I tried to take a walk for the first time in 2 weeks today. It's like, even though everybody's wearing masks and everything, it's like you can't really social distance now, especially when the weather is getting better. And I get it. People want to get outside, but it's like, if you want to, stay true to the rules. And
especially in New York. I mean, it's quite populated, so it's kind of hard to get away and be by yourself if you're outside, more or less.
Exactly. That's how it is. And fine, I'm not deadly scared, but then again, it's like,
you don't know.
You don't know, and I want to follow the rules, and I don't want to get sick, and I don't want to, get my wife sick, and also, I mean, we are, the quarantining here, we haven't seen anybody. She's seen a couple of colleagues. She works at the office once a week. She drives there, see very few people. We can't see friends. We can't see relatives. We can't go anywhere. So it's, if you sacrifice all that, then you're not going to, just catch the virus for being stupid on the street.
Right. I know.
Not in my book. That seems stupid. So
well,
I'm sitting that one out.
Well, you gotta stay healthy for these hopefully shows that are coming up, especially too, right?
Yeah, sure. So, but I do kickboxing online with my gym, or they have online classes, so that's good. I bought a stationary bike to get some heart rate up.
Yep.
And, play my electronic kit. We got a small apartment, but I made that happen. So I play that once in a while, writing riffs. Do what you can.
Honestly, man, and I mean, I'm actually I'm in Niagara Falls, Canada myself, so we do have within like a 10-15 minute radius, just like dense forests and stuff like that, so we can actually not have to mingle with anybody. We can kind of just take off, go for a little hike or something like that, just to clear the mind or whatever. Because I mean, especially in New York, man, I'm I don't know how you can do it.
And it's also like we've been talking every week, and like, should we take a drive to a park or get out of the city, just to go somewhere? But then again, that's how everybody thinks. Like on the weekends, people are going to be in those places anyways. Like the parks are pretty crowded, so it's like, let's just wait until this gets better.
We can't win.
No, we can't. Just how it is. I wish I had some woods nearby,
Right. Oh man, I'm very grateful that we live near a lot of woods and everything like that, so we can. I'm not gonna stop talking about it because I'm probably just gonna.
That sounds great. I'm happy for you.
Thank you. Because honestly, man, like if it isn't for we're supposed to I've just been brought up to go to concerts and hang out with buds and just listen to music and do all that sort of thing. So for that to all of a sudden just drop, it's a shock. Like I'm just I don't mind being by myself and watching my collection of horror movies and and doing what I'd usually do, but after a while it's like, man, like, did anybody else see what I just watched, or is anybody else listening to what I just listened to and everything? And holy,
I know. It's really weird. I mean, like, just when everything went down and the lockdown came about down here, I was like, I was looking at new jobs at new venues down here, and I was just like, yeah, I can start working tomorrow. Then I was like, all right. As I was there, going through everything for the first time, the manager comes out and is like, I'm really sorry, but they just told us that all the smaller clubs in the city are going to close tomorrow. I'm like, oh, there we go.
Of course. Well, because you do, you started doing sound for a lot of bands and stuff like that too now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been doing live sound since the late 90s professionally,
Right.
back and forth. But the last 10 years or so, I've been, that's been my bread and butter.
Right. So yeah. So when Dismember's not kind of doing their own thing, then you can go off and still at least be a part of, tours and shows and everything like that. Anyways, just because that's just what you love to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been tour managing, doing backline, front of house monitors for bands throughout the years. But the last 3 years, I was working at one venue here in Brooklyn, which was awesome. We had shows like 5 to 6 days a week, and I did most of them myself.
Wow.
It was great, but that closed down. And then after that, we did some shows with Dismember, of course, and then I was looking at new venues to start working at, and then everything went down the shitter.
Holy fuck. And unfortunately, too, I mean, venues, obviously, just businesses in general are having a hard time, so it's going to be quite the shock when we all just get thrown back out into reality and, what's alive still?
Yeah, exactly, right? I'm seriously worried, especially for the smaller venues and the bigger too. I mean, how many venues are going to be around? How many venues can afford paying rent without having shows if this drags out?
Yeah.
It's sad.
It's super sad. So let's talk about some positive things like music.
Right.
Yeah.
Get the spirits up here.
Honestly. Well, that's the whole reason why I've been trying to do these too, is because, we're all stuck at home. We're all kind of just, twiddling our thumbs and, listening to the same music over and over and watching the same movies. So it's like, well, why not we talk to some people and let's get some stories, build up some positiveness here and, and just try to keep this flow going, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. I really appreciate you and everybody else who's doing this right now, because it's very necessary so that, not just to remember the bands and the artists, but also everybody who actually are, the audience too. It's like, this is a good thing that people can actually interact and have, you kind of get a little bit closer online thanks to these kind of events.
Right.
That's a good thing. So, and, I just hope that people have patience enough for music until this is over.
No, literally, man. As much as everybody, harps on social media and all this kind of stuff, at least we have these avenues to be able to do this sort of thing and somewhat keep connected, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's great.
Yeah, totally. So Dismember, you've really kind of started, getting right back into the groove in the last little bit. Like all of a sudden, the guys who did the Maryland Death Fest shows, start booking you guys, and then all of a sudden, all this hype's happening. And that's getting you guys excited, and all of a sudden, it's like, okay, well, you guys played one show, and all of a sudden, there's buzz, and then a little bit down the road, there's another show. Holy shit, there's more buzz going on. These guys are starting to take shit, back on the train again. So, what made you want to kind of start getting things rolling like that?
Well, it felt like the time was right. It felt like, I don't know, there were one or two new generations of metal youngsters that are into this old school death metal, which is awesome. And, it's also, come on, we're not getting younger, but the whole band is still vital. Everybody has good health. Everybody loves the music still. No one said, like, no, fuck this shit. Everybody still has it. We all have it in our bloodstreams, I feel like, all the members. So we said, like, well, let's do this. Let's try a couple of shows and see how it goes. And then the interest seemed to be pretty decent. So we were like, well, let's take the shows we can and just, try to go where we can across the globe and do one-offs here and there. It's kind of hard to do tours anymore. I know a lot of people are asking, do a tour, come here, come there. Yeah, but the reality is that we all need to work full time.
Right.
That's just how it is these days. In the past we didn't, but we were also dirt poor. Now we have decent lives, all of us, and we want to do this, and we want to do it really good. We don't want to do like, some half-ass tired tour, touring that just kind of trickles out into like, oh, this is, you remember the backside of the business and all that. We want to have fun. And we want to make a great show every time. So we'd rather do like one show or maximum 2 shows per weekend.
Right.
And since I book everything myself.
Oh, nice.
We don't need an agent. We don't need a manager. I do that myself. And we've been in the game long enough. So that's, that works good for us. But that's going to make us play not as much.
Right.
But that's how it works for us right now. And,
Well, yeah, and also, too, you don't want to burn yourself out. Because a lot of the times, a bunch of these older bands getting back together, all of a sudden, they're touring again and touring and touring. And then eventually it's like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'll catch you maybe, and then, the next time around or something like that. Like, it's kind of like a no big deal after a while. But it's kind of cool what you guys are doing is just playing these sporadic shows so that it makes people just get excited. And it's like, holy fuck, man, like, they're not going to tour. I have to go to that show. I have to actually drive, 6-7 hours, go see this shit, because who knows if they're going to come back anytime soon kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I respect that some people cannot go to certain cities and they want us to play closer to home. I get that, but it's also like we are pretty self-critical on our own performance, but therefore we're also pretty critical on the arrangement of the events we're playing. We don't want to play crappy shows where, like everything is just a mess, and so that we cannot put on our best show. We want everything to be sort of professional from everybody's standpoint, the organizer, the venue, us, our crew, and, back in the day, we toured so much and barely made any money. So therefore we did everything ourselves. And that works once in a while, but when you're on the road for 2 to 4 weeks at a time, that gets kind of tiresome because you work your ass off every day, and then you show up on a Monday and like 50 people are standing there seeming not that interested. Yeah. We still put on a good show because if there's only one person in there that really loves us, we're going to do everything to make sure that person comes back next time. But we've done that, right? Yeah. So now, since we had a choice, like, if you want to play, it has to be on our terms.
Yep. Totally. Well, because you guys are like 80 years old now too, right? So
exactly.
So you don't have the energy to tour like that much also, right? I mean, like you said, you've been there, done that. It was fun. That was the time. And now it's like, okay, you're taking things really seriously, and like you said, you're picking your battles, and when you do that, you're gonna bring your fucking A game because you're pretty much like, oh, we only have like 2 or 3 shows in the next couple months. We're fucking excited. We're gonna go hard.
Exactly. We just want to laugh, and we want to put on a great show. We want to, meet the people in the crowd as much as possible. I mean, when you're on the road, you get more and more tired for every show, especially when things go south. You blow a tire, or you don't get your merch that's flown in, so you lose money, or a guitar breaks, stuff like that. You have to problem solve every day on tour. And, I've been tour managing, doing front of house for other bands too, doing band tours across America or in Europe and other countries too. And it's hard work even when you get paid decently for a crew member, but then you see also like the band is barely making any money. I'm making money. I'm doing most of the work, but then again, they're cramped in the band for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then you see the tensions in the band, and then you remember like that's, when we used to tour, when we talk like within the band these days, we only remember the fun stuff.
Right.
And then we laugh at the hardships. But if you too quickly go back to be in that position again where you start to be like, oh no, and you're older too, a little bit more convenient, then you're like, oh my God, fuck, I snore. Now someone has to share a room with me. Like, damn it. Like, now he's going to play like shit because he didn't get 1 hour of sleep, It's like, small things like that are more important the older you get.
It's so true, though. I mean, like you said, as we get older, you start to pick your little ADD things and all that stuff, right? And then you get set on those. And like you said, you got your best friend snoring right beside you. As much as you love him, you want to strangle him.
And then you're wondering why everything sounds like shit when you start sound checking. Yeah, because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing because I didn't sleep. You know, you can get away with that when you're 20. You just take a beer and like, yeah, whatever. You know, you're young, you have all the energy in the world, but now it's like with anything, like exercising or playing an instrument or a sport, whatever. It's like if you can't bring your A game, people are paying for
Yep.
good money to see a good show, and then you can't be like grumpy or in a bad mood or, you know, be pissed off at something because that shows.
Yes. Oh, it totally does. And then the word gets out because the internet, everybody's talking nowadays. They want to see all the negativity if they can because they want to be TMZ and report that, oh, Dismember weren't on their game tonight. Oh my gosh. No.
Right. Exactly. It's like that was a fun part about the first show we did in Stockholm in October last year. it was kind of funny because I'm always like I'm very critical to how everything's going to look and how it's going to sound and all that. So I was like, well, the last thing I want is this for us to look and sound like 5 old, you know, lazy, out of breath old guys, you know. So I was probably in that mindset because after the first show, like a friend of ours, he said like, well, I heard some comments. He's from Italy. He was like, I know some guys down in Italy who are big fans and everything, and they watched it online. And they were just a little bit concerned because the tempo of the songs were way higher than on the album. I was like, yep, you're probably right because, you know, I don't want it to sound, you know, tired and, you know, like we can't do it.
Yeah.
So I was probably so hyped up.
Yes.
That I was just like going so hard. You know, I actually listened to one of the songs online from the Friday. It is pretty a little bit too fast, I can say. I totally agree with them, but you know.
Yeah, but you can't.
I'd rather have that
yes.
than like the other way because I've seen, you know, bands reuniting and it's just like it's so slow and the songs are way too slow and there's no energy and you're like, yeah, people only love this because it's like some kind of nostalgia. But if you are critical to this band because you love them, it's a little bit too tired. You should have rehearsed more. You should have brought more energy. You know,
yep.
Like,
no,
maybe you should have worked out a little bit more.
It's totally true. But then again, though, like even with live shows, you don't want the same as like the studio albums. You want a little bit of different variation or something like that to throw people off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's one thing. It's like Death Metal on album, Death Metal live. I mean, that's you know, metal in general. I've watched a lot of bands that I love. Let's say Kiss, for instance. Like huge fan since I was 6 years old. What they are today. No, and like I've seen so many shows. So the last show I saw must have been Spain like 10 years ago. It was pretty not so good.
Yeah. Well, they use a lot of backing tracks now too and everything. Like they just can't keep up anymore, right? We get it.
Yeah, and I respect, you know, the whole thing and like It's not only them. It's a whole enterprise that they're keeping alive by still play. That I totally respect.
Yeah.
But I just think it's like I think I'd rather kept the memory from the reunion shows in '96. You know.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly my I didn't get to go to those shows, but a buddy of mine did, and you know they had a great time because they were still somewhat not young, but at least they still had some of the old school feeling and not being tired and not like, you know, just going through the motions and blah, blah, blah. So like you said, like that should have been the cutoff, but I mean, it's Kiss and it's Gene Simmons and, you know, they do what they do.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, but we said that from the start when we reunited. I mean, we talked a lot before we agreed to do it, but that was one of the main concerns we all had. Like, we better do it now instead of in 10 years because that's going to be like probably way worse. But if we do it now, we can probably play until we feel that, all right, now we're starting to look off or sound off, you know.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, honestly, because I mean, yeah, we're not getting any younger. And honestly, you've been at this game for what, 35 years or so now?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So You're gonna get tired regardless eventually.
Exactly.
So pretty much like 35 years ago, Carnage comes along. That was that your first band?
No, Dismember was the first band. So we started Dismember in 1988, and I think Carnage started the same year, but I wasn't in the band then. I met Mike at a different show. I think it was Nihilist, and I don't remember what band they played with, but they played outside of the hometown or the town where Mike lived and played in Carnage. So he was a couple of years older, you know, and he was really cool, good at playing. He had ambition and like a drive. And, you know, I don't know, how old was I? Maybe 17, 16, 17. And David and Robert in Dismember at the same time, they were, you know, 1 year younger. That made a big difference back then. So I felt like we did a couple of demos with Dismember, but Robert and David, they were like, all right, we have to finish senior high school. And I was just like, nah, I can't take this anymore. I just want to play music.
Right.
So I talked to Michael, and he was like, well, you know, I know the guys from Carcass, I know the guys from Eric, you know, we could probably get a deal there. What do you say? Like, so I took a, you know, bus ride down and rehearsed with them because their drummer left, and felt like, whoa, wow, this is like, let's do a record. You know, that's all we wanted, you know,
right.
at the time. Like, make a record, get on the road, not thinking about like playing any arenas or bigger theaters or anything. Just get on the road, get touring, and record albums, and just hang out with people, you know, in other countries who like the music. So I met him, and we hit it off, and it was a lot of back and forth because I was living in Stockholm at the time, and he lived in the smaller city called Växjö, which is a couple hours south of Stockholm. And, you know, that city didn't have a lot of rehearsal space. It was harder down there. Stockholm was a little bit easier to find a place to rehearse and recording studios that worked to record an album and all that. And then Entombed did their first album. When they recorded that in the fall of '89, you know, I was like, wow. And that Studio Sunlight seemed awesome. So I was like, damn, we have to record it too. And Michael was like, yes, let's do it. But by the time we got to recording the album in, was that February 1990, I think it was, you know, there was some kind of like, Johan and especially was like, nah, I want to stay down here in this city, and I have my job, and I can't move to Stockholm and all that. So we were like, oh, now we need a singer. Now we need a guitar player, an extra guitar player. So we were just like, all right, David, you want to join and like play on this record? He was like, okay. And Matti was like, yeah, sure. So we just like mashed everything together. We took the Carnage songs we had, and we took a couple of Dismember demo tracks and just made an album.
Right, right. And Jeff Walker did some artwork for the early stuff too, right?
Yeah, exactly. And he was also, you know, the Necrosis label that was kind of a sub-entity to Eric. That was his, you know, label, I guess. So through him, we got the record deal, you know.
Right on.
That was distributed by Eric Records. So that, you know, for us, it was like, great.
Yeah. Of course. And the rest is history from there on in, pretty much. So, so while you guys were recording the Dismember stuff, you really got, that's when you kind of started getting into the production side of it all. I was reading up on some things that while you guys were recording, you were really trying to get in there and, you know, kind of hone in your own sound, and you know, you obviously had your own vision there. Was it you that kind of, you know, brought the sound of Dismember together? Obviously, it was the whole band together, but I mean, you kind of helped behind the board too, toning some dials and all that kind of jazz.
Yeah, because I was so intrigued, you know, because the early days of recording demos, even in Stockholm at the time, people were like, what are you doing? What are you playing? You're going to grow out of this. Listen to some, you know, like Deep Purple or something. We're like, yeah, no, we like that too, but this is a different thing, and this is what we want to do. And everybody was like a little bit older, and they were like, oh yeah, but oh my God, these kids, they just want to record all night, and like, oh, they want to like, do all these weird things, delay on the vocals, and like, why are they playing like that? And they didn't get the whole, they didn't get the gist of the music at all.
Nope.
So when we met Thomas, he recorded the second Nihilist demo, and it sounded great. And Nick told me like, well, he's super cool. He's not like the other guys in the city in recording studios. He's like open to stuff, and if you tell him like, oh, we want it to sound like that, he would help you do that. It was simple as that. So when we started recording in Sunlight Studios, it was really fun to hang out with Thomas because he was really cool. He worked with like very minimal, means in that studio, and it was really small, but it sounded great.
Right.
So we were like, all right. So I got really into like sitting beside him and asking him, what are you doing there? And how do you do that? And if I want to sound like this, how can we make that happen? And, so he taught me as we, went on. And I felt that, I had a vision, of course. I mean, Mike had with Carnage too. We both had a vision, but with Dismember, it was like, without David's guitar playing, no Dismember. Without my way of playing drums or monthly singing, no Dismember. That's just how it is. But I think when it comes to the studio, it was pretty critical that we had someone like Thomas to be able to make everything coherent, and that he understood what I meant when I wanted to do something or try something. And he wouldn't be like, no, you can't do it like that. He was never like that. He was like, all right, do you mean like this? He took the extra time.
Right. Right on. And while you're recording that, or like just a lot of the tunes for the Dismember album, you wrote a lot of stuff without solos and everything originally.
Yeah, because when we started writing the first Dismember album, it was actually me, Matti, and David, like a three-piece. So it's guitar, drums, and vocals. And, growling every time in a rehearsal space, I mean, you can't do that for, like, we used to rehearse for, like, 3 to 5 hours a day, maybe 3 to 5 times a week. So it's like, he wrote some stuff, David wrote some stuff, I wrote some stuff, and we put it together. I usually was the one who arranged everything, because I had a vision in my head how I wanted everything to be structurally, like how the song should be, and all that. So it was kind of hard. Nick was playing bass with us sometimes. He would jump in and play some leads here and there, and so some of the songs I had in mind, like we should have lead guitar on some parts. But I mean, we recorded the first Dismember album. I think the first Dismember album took like 12 days to record.
Wow.
It was pretty fast, and like drums 2 days, and then guitars a couple of days, and then bass, and and David had a lot on his plate, and the songs were new. It wasn't like we had rehearsed it for 6 months or anything. So you kind of worked it as you roll. And I was just like, well, we need some lead stuff here. And David was like, well, I can't do that also, So I was like, well, Nick, he can play. He was like, yeah, I can do it. So he just went into the studio one evening, and for a couple of hours, it's more or less like first takes on many of the leads he did on that album.
Holy shit. Wow. That kind of made it a little simpler too there.
Yeah, no, it did. And I mean, that's the way it was back then. You didn't think too much. You were like, all right, now I like it. I like it how it sounds here and now. Therefore, it's going to be good. I'm not going to go home and think, for a week about that song or that part, or, oh, we have to redo this. No, it was on tape. It's done. You can't change that now,
Well, that's awesome that you were confident enough with, obviously, the music itself, that you went in, you recorded 12 days, bam, you were done. Simple as that.
Yeah. But, it's like, it was a lot of long nights with a lot of coffee and a lot of cigarettes, but...
And it was recorded pretty primitive also too, right? Not many overlays and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, we didn't record it live at all. I mean, we did the drums with a pilot guitar, and then David did all the overdubs for guitars and all that, and then vocals, and then mix. That's it. Boom.
Simple.
But it was also like, no computers back then. You had a 16-track recorder, tape recorder, and it's like you're not going to be able to edit anything really on that.
Right.
So what's on there? We're happy now. We're going to be happy later.
So the album comes out on Earache, and
on Nuclear Blast, actually.
Nuclear Blast, sorry, yeah. And everybody fucking shit their pants because it was obviously around the time, and Tomb's coming out, everything like that. And all of a sudden you guys are putting Sweden on the map and everything.
Yeah, that's how it felt anyway. I mean, like Unleashed, Grave, Dismember, and Tomb was a little bit earlier, and the Carnage album was kind of a little bit lost in everything, I feel like. But, yeah. I mean, it was like, Tomb came out, the summer of 90, and I think the Carnage album came out in November 90. And then we had, like, Unleashed, Dismember, Grave, that all came out around, like, spring, summer of 91.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a big, like, thing that so many bands released albums on different labels, too.
Right.
At the same time,
So you obviously were just, excited to get the albums out during that time when everything was kind of blowing up.
Yeah, you saw that, like, I mean, to be honest, other bands like Autopsy, Status, Morbid Angel, Carcass, Napalm Death, all these bands all these bands paved the way for us because since they got not just good reputation, but they could actually go out on tour, that made smaller bands like us finally releasing an album. It was pretty easy, but you could actually get an opening spot for one of those bands because there weren't that many bands that had released albums. So if, let's say, Morbid Angel is going to do a European tour, what kind of bands do they want to open? Do they want local acts on every show, or do they want like a band that's actually being pushed by a label?
Right.
That's easier for them too, and it's better for everybody. So that was also very important, with the timing, and that's kind of like why everybody's way quicker than to put out albums. I don't know why it has to take so long today, but maybe it's because there are more bands and labels have bigger rosters. I don't know, but
right.
Back then it wasn't. It was just like record. Okay, the album artwork is ready, and like now we have to go this now. You cannot do it in a week or two. You have to do it now. If you have any, like, if we had any, like the let's say the pictures for the inlays and the back cover and all that, we couldn't just wait. We did that at the same time as we recorded the album.
Wow.
Because we were not going to record the album and then go do that, and then because everything would take longer. We were like really restless and pushing it, and the label too. They loved it because we're like, let's do it now. We're not going to wait till tomorrow. I don't care what time it is. Let's do it now.
So the album comes out, boom, you start touring right away.
Yeah. And then toured as much as we could, And then again, like, as soon as you had done one tour, you were like, all right, we have to record something new. I mean, that's kind of like they did in the 70s too. Like, it was still that kind of mindset.
Right.
To metal music then.
Yeah. Still early in the game too. Like you said, it's just like, well, because everything was still fresh and new, and like you said, not a million bands like there is today. So it was exciting to just to keep that flow going the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was a necessity, or it was necessary for us to feel that we were doing something constantly. Like, all right, now we did this album, we're going to do a tour, but now we have to think about what we're going to release next, and are we going to do we have a budget for a video? Yes, we do. All right, let's try this, and let's do that while we're doing everything else, instead of like doing one thing at a time and wait. I kind of like that way of working, that you're in the midst of everything. It's kind of a little bit chaotic, but it's also like you're so focused on just making the best out of what you're doing creatively. So I was like, oh, I love being in that position,
And especially because you were young, also. So, and it was an exciting new scene. Still, bands are still, coming out. There's still lots to happen. And like you said, man, like put an album out, go on tour. While you're on tour, I'm assuming you guys are writing riffs and doing all that kind of shit. So by the time you get home, bam, let's start figuring this shit out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these days you have to wind down a little bit.
Oh yeah, because you're 80. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. But even like 20 years ago, I felt like, whoa, man, we just did like a 4-week tour.
Oh, you got paused. Hello? Hello? Uh-oh, you got paused. Hello? Oh. Hello? Oh. We got disconnected there for a sec. Oh, there we go. Let's do it again. Uh-oh. What's going on here? What happened here? Oh, no. What's going on? My internet's okay. Boo! Technical difficulties. Maybe his phone died. Maybe his phone died. Oh.
Here we go.
Oh, your phone died or something?
No.
Oh,
it just
weird.
I don't know, the connection went lost. It's weird. I have great Wi-Fi in here, but it's been like this the last 2 weeks now. It's like you get shut out and
everybody's online now, right? That's the problem too. Everybody in the world, that's all they're doing is streaming 24 hours a day now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So what we were talking about, writing riffs while you guys were touring and stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like today it's also like today I'm more like when you were like around 20, it's like I was always in the mood to write a riff.
Right.
These days, I have to feel the inspiration. I have to be in the right mindset. But then I can make like 15 to 20 riffs if I sit down a night. But it's also like, you can't. Back then I lived by myself. It's like I didn't care if I played music loud or anything. I didn't give a shit. But these days, I have to be a little bit respectful of not only your own family, but also neighbors.
Right. Exactly. So you finish the album, you go on tour, come back, start hashing out the next album, which was...
Oh, we did that EP, Pieces EP.
Right there. Good old tape. Still got the tape.
Nice.
Fucking hey, man. This is, honestly, man, I'm going to say that this was my favorite Dismember right here. There was something raw about this tape, this album. How did the recording come about with that one?
Well, it was just like we were touring, and then we were at home for a couple of weeks. I think it was just before Christmas or so, like late fall. We did that Soon to Be Dead video, and then I was working in a record store at the time, and I just had all these ideas, and I was just like, we all used to work like up until like 5-6 p.m. and then go to rehearsal space, rehearse from 7 till 10, and then go back home, sleep, get up, work, rehearsal space. So I was just like, we need to record new stuff, and like maybe we can do an EP, because we knew we were going to tour the next summer again and all that, and we needed to get something out. And the label were like, yeah, great, if you want to record already, do it. you should, because then you have another, you know, release to support, and you can get more tours, and you're active. So it's like, all right, let's just do it. I think that Pieces was recorded, like, was it like 2 or 3 nights? That was it. Like, maybe even 2 with mixing. So it was just like,
wow,
get into the studio 7 p.m., work until like 2 a.m., 2 or 3 nights in a row, and then just like done.
Holy shit. Wow. Well, because I mean, after coming off a tour and that amount of time, you guys are like spot on by this time now.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, I mean, all our fellow bands from Stockholm were doing the same. I mean, like, everybody was like, we're gonna tour, we're gonna record again, and so everybody was in this kind of creative frenzy, if you will, you know, which was awesome, because that also, you know, it makes you, it's not competitive, but it's like you see other people around you playing the same kind of music, and they're your friends, and we're all so hell-bent on doing all this, but in different bands, and that you know, it kind of colors you, and it bleeds over onto you too, that you feel that, like, that burst of energy from other people too. And then I mean, it helped that some people liked it, and, you know, it's like, oh, cool, awesome, maybe we can tour again soon, you know.
Big time. Well, yeah, and that's the thing too. Yeah, and the more that you hang out with your friends who are doing bands, doing tours, putting albums out, blah blah blah, it literally, like you said, it gets you fucking jacked. And it's like, holy shit, man, like this, you know, Grave just upped the ante there, and Unleashed are doing this, and, you know, Entombed's doing this, and now, you know, death metal on and globally is starting to just really, like, blow up. So, and especially being young too, you're just feeling the fucking train just moving along.
Exactly, and that was a great feeling, I have to say. It was a great feeling.
Holy shit. So, after Pieces, obviously, you're going out, doing the tour. You did that video, too, which was pretty cool, because that was on the Death is Just the Beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, the video little series that they had or whatever on VHS at the time. And, yeah, man, that came out fantastic. That was a fun video. So, after Pieces, you guys went and toured?
Yep. Toured the whole summer of '92, and then we were like, let's record a new album, let's rehearse new songs, and that's what we did.
So you were obviously same thing again while you're on the road, writing riffs?
Yep. I remember, like, even on sound checks, we tried to, like, rehearse songs that we wrote in the dressing room, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So after that, you go into where do you go to record the next album?
Still Sunlight Studio.
Still there.
And I think we were done with that record. I think we recorded for maybe 3 weeks that time. And I think we were done before Christmas of '92.
Wow. Fuck, you guys just keep pumping it out like nothing.
Yeah, because I remember, no, it must have been earlier, because I was even over... I took my first trip to the U.S. because, you know, Nuclear Blast in America were run by the guys from Relapse Records.
Yep.
By the time. So they invited me over to do, like, phone interviews from their house in Pennsylvania. So I actually took a flight. They paid for the flight. I was going to do press, so I just flew by myself and stayed with John from Incantation. He picked me up from the airport and stayed with him one night, partied, and then he drove me to the Relapse house. And then I was there for several days. You know, we went to a couple of shows, but then I was just sitting there doing, you know, and they were pushing hard, you know, over here. They were like, well, we need to push this band over here in America. So everybody was like, fine. And I was just like, great. I get to go to the U.S. for the first time. I don't care if it's by myself, but I went, you know. And then I stayed with, after I was done with that, I stayed with Bore Boy, you know, who used to be the manager for Sepultura, but also very heavily involved in Blabbermouth.
Oh.
So I stayed at his place for a couple of days and sightseed New York City for the first time. So that was a good, like, week and a half.
Wow, right Right on, right on. So obviously the press is getting out. You're doing interviews all over the place. Because I mean, kind of up until that point, I guess you would say a lot of the Swedish bands were still like, the European bands were still imports at the time.
Yeah, exactly. So it was great that they were like pushing for us over here, and it was also like we hadn't toured here yet. We wanted to tour America, but we didn't have a chance yet, really, and they were pushing for us to come and play here, and they made it happen through not only the interviews that they made me do or had me do, but I think also they released like the first album and then the Pieces one, and then we had the Indecent album in the pocket. So they were like, great, we have 3 releases here from a Swedish band on our label. Great, now we got to get them on the road. So by this like late spring of '93, just before we released the Indecent album, we were over here touring for like 10 weeks.
Holy shit! And who was the tour with?
Half of the tour was we opened up for Dayside, and Vader was the first support. So it was Vader, Dismember, Dayside, and then the second half of the tour was Vader, Dismember, Suffocation.
Oh shit! God damn! And especially Suffocation at that time too. Effigy of the Forgotten was just coming out too, and
Yep.
they were just starting to work on Breeding the Spawn at the time also. Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
holy shit! That's fantastic. So obviously, North America is, Dismember's starting to be well received around the area, and bringing this, somewhat new sound. Because I mean, by that time, a lot of people were obviously, familiar with the American bands, the Florida bands, and all that kind of stuff. So then you guys start bringing in this, this Swedish HM2 pedal sound, and changing things a little bit. So that was obviously interesting for everybody, and you got good response with it.
Yeah, no, it was a great tour. I mean, we had a lot of fun, and we met a lot of bands too, and like we had a tour with Obituary before, so we knew them a little bit, but then now we got to tour with Dayside, who were really big at the time, they played good sized venues, and we were like, wow. We didn't have to, like the first tour we didn't really have to do like the smaller, crappier places. We actually played some good sized venues from the start, which was great for us. We loved it.
Yeah, totally. So, recording Indecent, you were obviously a little more schooled in, audio and production and all that kind of stuff. You had more of a say behind the board on that album, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I would say so. I was getting more into it. Also, trying a little bit of different stuff. Like you're getting a little bit older. You understanding that like some gear is working better for you and all that. So that it was still a trial, kind of like we're trying things out in the studio a little bit more. Had a little bit more of time, a little bit of a bigger budget, even though it's peanuts compared to what an album costs, or even then. Like I mean, it wasn't expensive, but hey, but you had the time you had, and you made the best of it. Tried a little bit different things. I liked that album. It was just kind of like, it was also very like, maybe a little bit too technical, a little bit too much riffing going on. Some songs a little bit too long, but it was, I think we need to get that out, like.
Of course.
All right. We were always a band who like kind of played on the edge of what we actually managed to play.
Well, because a lot of you guys back then, your upbringing was like, punk, hardcore, and just, old school style heavy metal and stuff. So, the first couple releases of Dismember were, obviously still, a punk infused, like you still had some of the basic riffage in there. So you can't just keep doing that same thing all the time. So like you said, Indecent is pretty riffy.
Yeah, and also like, I think David, Robert, and Richard were putting more. They were contributing more riff-wise, I would say, and also like we realized that, we like this kind of melodic Iron Maiden kind of stuff, and we could have some parts like that because we kind of made it work for us. And therefore, I think we went a little bit more with that, and it suited us. You know, we liked it to not just have, I mean, the early influence is fine, but we still had Iron Maiden. You know, we played Death Metal, and we love that. But then again, why not let some of those influences, you know, color our songs a little bit more?
Of course, that's just the whole growing process, obviously.
Yeah.
Totally. And the cover of that album too. Who came up with that idea? That's pretty neat.
Well, it was actually the same persons who did the Soon to Be Dead video and the Pieces EP cover. They were like, they had gone through an art school, and this one guy, Henrik, who did all the special effects on all that, he had this idea like that, because they also knew a guy who was like a blacksmith, so he was like offering us to do like belt buckles, but they were really heavy. They were like heavy duty stuff, you know. And he made them for us, and we were like blown away because they were so cool. So he only made 5 pieces, so we're like, all right. And we paid a little bit for them, and we're like, all right, they're so cool. So we were wearing those at all times. And then our special FX guy, Henrik, he was like, oh, I got this idea. What about if you have a torso that's kind of like hacked open, and then there's the belt buckle logo inside the torso? I was like, all right, that's awesome. And, you know, we had that stupid trial in England in the summer of '92 where they tried to, they sued us for indecent and obscene lyrics, artwork, etc.
They actually did.
Yeah, they did. We won, and they dismissed the case. But we kind of we were like, all right, let's write on that. You know, let's call, because it was kind of funny when we were sitting in court, and the judge was reading the claims for the lawsuit, and he said, like, the English customs are suing the band, the label, and the distributor for indecent and obscene artwork and lyrics. So it's like indecent and obscene. I mean, thanks for that title. Yeah.
Holy shit.
And then you put something that's really gnarly on the front cover. I mean, it was a slam dunk in my head.
Literally, and it's crazy too to think back. Like, I mean, it's not, you know, 30 years. You know, it's still a little bit ago, but it wasn't that long ago. Still, to the fact where, you know, you still had the Tipper Gores still trying to fight for obscene lyrics and gross covers and all that kind of stuff, like still censoring. Like, it blows my mind.
Yeah, and I was always so mad about that. I always hated that, you know, censorship when it comes to art, music, and so on. As long as you're not hurting anyone or, you know, throwing propaganda out there that is like hateful in any way, I think it's like, why do you care? Why are you so fucking scared? I'm sure if you raise your kids right, I don't think they're gonna, you know, tear somebody's torso open and, you know, like, or kill someone or hack someone to death because they listen to this kind of music or read this kind of lyrics.
Right.
You know, it was just totally ludicrous to me. So I was like, all right, if they do this, we're gonna counter with this. So.
and it's weird too, because I mean, when horror movies in the 80s really started to become controversial, you know, to the parents and everything like that, you think they would have been over it by then, 10 years later.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember in the 80s, and you had the first, like, you know, rental movie spots popping up, and the family had a VCR player for the first time. And then you saw all of these horror movies, but you couldn't rent them because you were not 18 years old.
Yeah.
And your parents wouldn't do it. And it was like everybody was like, oh, our youth are going to get so, you know, this is depraving our youth because they watch this. And everybody was so scared. And I was like, why? You know, I snuck in and saw The Exorcist when I was like 14 years old. I was scared shitless. Even at that age, but I snuck in, and that's the only time I managed to snuck in a movie theater. So I was like, this is awesome, and I can't watch this at home because that's a different setting. It's not as scary as when you see a scary movie in a theater.
Of course.
So I was like, I don't understand this hype among parents. What are they so scared of?
But it's the same thing. Again, it goes back in history to when like Elvis started shaking his hips. That's the same thing, right? Those kids were losing their shit. This is the coolest thing ever. And their parents were like, oh, he's the devil. Like, you shouldn't even show his hips. And then they got, I think it was like, I don't know if it was Ed Sullivan or something like that they made them not shoot below the waist kind of thing, right?
No, I remember. I was a big Elvis fan. When I was 5, I got into him, and I was like, wow. And then a couple of years later, it was Kiss. And, when Kiss came to Sweden, like, the press was like, they were saying outrageous stuff like that Kiss was like the most destructive, violent band ever being seen on a stage, and they are Nazis. They're wearing they're wearing swastikas on their costumes. It's stuff that is completely outright a lie, and got away with it. No one was questioning it.
Right.
And so I was mad even then as a kid, like way before we started playing death metal. I was really mad already about stuff like that. I didn't like censorship when it came to music and art.
Yeah, totally. So, well, and again, like us, it's the rebellious youth, right? You tell us not to do it. Well, fuck you. We're gonna do it even crazier or scarier or gorier or whatever.
That's the way to go.
It's a no-brainer. Didn't the parents think about this stuff when bringing us up?
I know it's so silly when you think about it. Like, what do you think's gonna happen?
Yeah, you suppress those kind of feelings and emotions. Then eventually, when the kids are going to get old enough to be able to think for themselves, you better watch the fuck out because it's going to be some shit going down.
Yeah, I know. It's like, I mean, we've been joking about that. Like, when my kids were young, like, oh, you rebelled in this way, but what do you think is going to happen now? You're in a death metal band. What can they do to rebel against you? Well, I don't know. Maybe like some super crappy music that everybody likes, maybe. And, to a certain extent that happened. And you're like, oh my God, I can't listen to this. And can you turn that down? But then again, it's like, I'm not going to tell you to turn it off. But
no.
It's just like, we can talk about music at least. I'm not going to tell you that you can't listen to it, or this is. I understand why you're into it because your friends are and all that. I hate it, but I'm not going to put that on you. That's about me because I don't like it. But you're free to fucking listen to whatever you want. It's like,
honestly,
that's none of my business.
I know, and just like how you said it too, it's like, what are my kids gonna rebel against? I love horror movies. I love heavy metal. I love anything that's dark and macabre. Yep. I've done some drugs. I like to drink. Yep. What are you gonna rebel against? You tell me.
Exactly.
It's so funny. No, there isn't. There literally isn't. And like you said, my kids, like my oldest is 20 and my youngest is 14. But we've obviously tried to school them on as much music as possible, whether it be metal or old school country or dance music, disco, like everything in between, right? So they can pick what they want to like out of everything. But as they get older and, be able to decide for themselves, it's like, well, they want to listen to this new trap and, the new style hip hop and all that stuff. I mean, I love rap and, old school hip hop stuff and like that. But the new stuff, I'm literally like, okay, like, I'm not going to tell you to stop listening to it, but holy shit, this sucks.
Yeah, I know, right? I feel the same. And then I have some friends who are like, they manage somehow to have their kids like, the kids, you see their kids and they're 5 years old and they're wearing a fucking Thin Lizzy shirt or an Iron Maiden shirt, and they're like, well, I actually like, like the new wave of old school death. I'm like, how did that happen? How did you get to the point? Like, my kids are totally opposite. They're like, well, they think it's funny, that I've been doing what I did, but it's like, it's not that they would ever be into it.
It's so true, man. And obviously, I wanted my kids, at least one of them, to be able to start talking and asking questions about metal and stuff like that. But unfortunately, neither of them cared. And my youngest one, especially, he just laughs. He tells his friends too, like, I don't know what my dad listens to. It's all just and super fast drums and the heaviest guitars you can think of. And he just laughs about it, and they make fun of me. And it's just like, well, I tried with you guys. I wanted you to be like me.
I don't know. I feel the same. It's like, all right. It's like my oldest son. He's a jazz musician, so I'm like,
Oh, wow.
he kind of like understands like that we did some, we did touring when we were young. We were like, we had the drive. We were going for stuff that we really wanted to do. So he likes that side of it. But
Right.
I never listened to much to jazz music because I don't really understand it. Some things can be good and I can appreciate it, but I would never put on a jazz record at home, really, especially not a full one, maybe a couple of songs. But
Wow.
so that's one thing. But my two other younger kids, they're like your kids. They're like, oh, my dad is so weird. It's like he's got long hair. He's still playing those fast drums and like, yeah.
It's so funny, man. I wish my kids like jazz. Like, I mean, like they like the funk. They like the, some of the, like the disco and that kind of stuff. But jazz, man, I'm a big jazz fan. I couldn't tell you pretty much a who's who of who is in jazz, but I mean, we have a really cool jazz station that we put on all the time because it's nice to have playing in the background, but to have your kid actually playing jazz, like, holy shit, that's fucking awesome, man. Especially,
it's impressive. And
yeah.
him and his friends are like, they're great musicians. It's like I'm like blown away, but then I'm always thinking like, I don't understand it to the extent that I know at the end of the day, like, they're so skilled that I can't really hear how skilled they are. You know what I mean? It's like they're so good at what they do that it almost sounds like, is that how it's supposed to be?
No, totally.
I guess that's probably how people thought about, like, about our music. If you're not into it, it's like, I don't understand. I can't figure out what they're trying to do here. Is it like even well played? At least I know that to play jazz, they have to be pretty damn good.
Oh, that's
to make it sound like
spot
that.
on, definitely, man, and especially jazz too. That was quite obscure music just growing up, like back in the 30s and 40s and stuff like that, right? That was kind of like the outlaw music, that and blues kind of stuff, right?
Which is awesome. I love that part of music history. It's like, it's just that. It's funny that, but then now we have like the dance music of today. I'm like, I've been sitting as a sound engineer through too many nights of, it's the same build up, it's the same like breakdowns, it's the same kind of thing for like 5-6 hours. And I'm like,
yeah.
But that's me. It's like, I'm not supposed to understand because I'm 80 years old, so I'm not supposed to understand. At least I know that I'm not supposed to understand it.
Yeah, no, totally. But it's true though. I mean, like a lot of that new music, it does have the same formula over and over. I'm not, like you said, I'm not going to tell my kids you can't listen to that shit. Like, turn it off or whatever. But just listen to it and listen to each song and just go deep with it. The structures and everything. It's all the same. It literally is.
Yeah, and that's what makes me kind of like, one thing if it was like, let's say a thematic album that like, all right, this song is different from the next one and we're building to something, or there's a thought behind, but that's what I don't like, that maybe there is a lot of thoughts into it, but I feel like it's being a person who've been working through shows like that, I'm less and less inclined to think that there are that much thought into it.
Right.
I guess some artists they put a lot of thought into it, but I feel like maybe some do not as much, That's what I don't. It's like, can you improve?
Totally. Well, because pretty much
surprise me.
Yeah.
Make something, surprise us, surprise the people here who pay the ticket. Like,
and they're paying.
And I get it. If you're gonna dance, maybe it's easier. Like, you're out dancing, and it's easier to know what's gonna come for the next hour, like
Pretty
every
much.
3 or 2-3 minutes. But
Yep.
even for like the show of it, like the lights, the sound, like it can't get more exciting because it's going to be the same, and you can only do so much if it's going to be the same structure over and over again for 4 or 5 hours.
Yes, literally. That's the exact same way I feel, man. Because you know that dude's just going to press the button, and as soon as he's got his finger up, you know it's going to be a bass drop, and then there it is. Right?
Yeah.
Over and over and over. But enough about dance music.
Yeah. Fuck that shit.
Oh, totally, man, totally. But the one thing I do like about my kid, actually, I'm going to go back to my oldest son. He's a skateboarder. So
Cool.
Obviously, a lot of skateboarding videos. There's a totally a variety of music in all videos or whatever. So him and his buddies ended up making some videos a few years ago. And he's getting into filming and doing editing and stuff. So I'm kind of like, okay, at least, you're getting into that kind of shit, which, proud papa moment right there, right? So,
Yeah.
So they make the skate video, and as soon as the video starts, like, he didn't show me anything, no rough edits or whatever. He's like, okay, Dad, I made this first video, check it out or whatever. The first song that comes on is the Little River Band, Reminiscing.
Oh.
I was like, oh man, proud papa, proud
That's
papa.
awesome. That's awesome.
Because I love my yacht rock. I'm going to admit
Yeah.
it. I'm going to admit it over and over again, man. You cannot get me away from the 70s and 80s yacht rock. I fucking love it.
That's awesome. But I also got to say, like, I tried to do some skateboarding, like in the late '80s when around when the crossover was around and we were listening to thrash metal and
DRI and everything. Yep.
Yes, suicidal tendencies.
Yep.
I used to love all those bands and all that, but I tried to do skateboarding. I was like, nah, I'm never gonna get good at this. So I totally respect and I admire people who are good at that, because that's like something I wanted to do, but I knew I could never master. So I'm like in awe of the skateboarders out there.
Yeah, it's mind blowing. Cool. It literally is. I just wish a lot more videos would have cooler music.
True, very true, very true. I mean, there is a good music culture around it.
Yep.
And I work with a band like Millencolin.
Oh, I love Millencolin. No shit.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, that's they're friends of mine. So I know about a lot of that, but you're right. There could be more good music too.
Yes, exactly. Because okay. So indecent exposure, indecent and obscene comes out because you wanted to just say fuck you to everybody. Good luck with that. Because I mean, during that time too, I mean, Cannibal Corpse's albums were getting censored left and right. Everything was getting censored, so you pretty much just blew them out of the water. Screw you, we made it, whatever. You go on tour after that, obviously.
Yeah. That's like summer '93. Yeah, we toured the U.S. and we toured with Morbid Angel in Europe that fall, and then started writing again. It was kind of almost like most of the like good metal tours were usually in the summer, because I know that Grave had some hardship like touring in America, North America, like during the winter in a camper, and it was so we were like, oh, we were lucky that we didn't have to go through that a lot. We had our mishaps, but we never went through like snowstorms in up in Canada or whatever, but it seemed almost like a cycle at the time. So you did the tours and then recorded during the winter, and you couldn't play too much. We played a little bit in Sweden after that too, and then we started thinking about recording the new album. So, but then we were like, all right, let's the next album, third album, always tricky, the third album, and Nuclear Blast at the time, they were like, oh, you should go, you should probably slow down a little bit and try to get this like more accessible to the bigger metal audience.
What?
I mean, it's like it was the label at the time, they had done pretty good for themselves, and they were at the time, in '94, they started getting like their metal acts onto the German charts, which was unheard of. I was like, what? You get metal bands on the charts? Who are you paying? They're like, we're not paying anyone off. because people actually like it that much. It's starting to be played on regular radio stations in like Germany and all that. So I was like, what? So they were kind of feeling like, well, you should probably, and Toon was going a little bit more like, they were doing the Wolverine Blues thing.
Yep.
Which is a great album, and but that was not our style really. But I was probably the one that was kind of a little bit like thinking that, oh, maybe they're right, on the label, maybe they have a point. And Thomas, our producer and recording engineer, he was also like, after Indecent, he was like, you guys need to like slow down a little bit, get more confined as a band, be a little bit tighter maybe, and try to not have a million riffs in every song. And so it was kind of a little bit of a weird compromise. And I also wanted the other band members to like contribute more to the songwriting, because they were kind of like, we didn't make much money from the songs we wrote, but since I wrote most of the material, I got a little bit more money from, the songs being written by me. So they saw that and they felt like, well, why do you get a little bit more money than us? I was like, because I wrote the music, but go ahead, why don't we do it like this then?
Yeah.
Like we all write one song each for next album.
Yeah.
Without help from anyone else in the band, and then rehearse it, and so everybody can like feel free to like, this is what I want to put on the album. So we did that, which also kind of like at the time we had a little bit other, maybe newer influences a little bit that we probably for some parts should have put in there, some parts should probably not have been put in the music of our band, I feel like. And all that combined made the Massive Killing Capacity album what it is. It's not a bad album, I like it, but maybe the production is a little bit more tame, it's a little bit more mid-paced, and fine, some really good songs on there. And I think we developed the Judas Priest and Iron Maiden influences into our music. We put them in even more, which is a great thing, as long as it doesn't go, but with a little bit of a more tame production and more mid-paced songs, it felt like it was kind of maybe not as harsh of a death metal album as we would have done just a year before that.
Right. Well, it's just because, like you said, you're starting to get all this influence from everybody else. And like you said, metal's kind of hitting the charts, and Earache's starting to put out all these other bands too in Europe that are not just death metal, and they're starting to get into different territories and everything and all that stuff.
Yeah, and like, I mean, look at Pantera, fucking, they blew up, right? Slayer kind of slowed down, and they were taking a little bit more easy, more mid-pace. Sepultura. Oh. Same thing. They blew up completely, but I love the early stuff, and I love Chaos AD and all that. But they also progressed into that more
new metal
pace kind of. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Roots is totally a new metal album.
That's true. But you know what I mean. So that was kind of the culture in the metal scene then. Yep. It's like it had to evolve in some respects, I guess.
Yeah. No, totally.
I just feel that we needed to do that album too, to make sure that we knew what path we were going to go down. And by doing that album and feeling the way we did, all of us in the band, we felt like, well, we're not going to go further down that path. We're going to keep what fits in our music, but now we know what we are good at doing, and we're going to keep on doing it that way.
Right. So would you say that album kind of received not backlash, but a little bit of negativity because you were starting to stray just a tad?
I think some people thought it was kind of not a like sellout, but some people thought that it was like, oh, now you're kind of like slowing down, and you're on the verge of becoming a death and roll band or whatever. Ooh. But we also gained some new people who hadn't heard us before. That it was, so that in that sense it worked. That it was. Right. I mean, when I talk to people today, and they're like, "Well, Massive Killing Capacity was my first album with you, and that's still my fave." And I get that. Like, if you got into the band at that point, you didn't really care about the previous albums until later. That's what you were listening to that summer or whatever. And that's not a bad thing. It's just like the good thing for us was that we realized that, all right, that's it. Like, we're not going to stray further than this. This is the limit. That's the border, and we're not crossing that.
We did it once. You know, we laid the groundwork for,
Yep.
you know, the influence from the, you know, like you said, the record label and just the industry itself. Wasn't the way to go, because a lot of the bands during that time too, with the introduction of, like, you know, grunge and alternative and everything like that, everybody started, you know, trying different things, going new directions, like drastically.
Absolutely, and I mean that's a good thing for the music scene, I feel like. But it's also like, I mean, come on, if you want to have your own sound, maybe you shouldn't do like 5 different albums that sound completely different, and you don't know which band you're listening to from album to album. I don't like that personally.
Not at all. And a lot of people jumped ship too during that era, like 93, 94. A lot of people were just like, I love Alice in Chains and I love Soundgarden now. They're like the new, you know, metal rock bands. So a lot of people just was like, yeah, death metal's old. Everybody got out of thrash metal. Everyone got into death metal. Everyone got out of death metal and got into the grunge and, you know, the new rock and all that kind of stuff. And that fucking just weirded the scene out completely.
Yeah, exactly. And then you had the black metal scene that came.
Yes. And
just skyrocketed with like more primitive sounds and more evil sounds. And then you're like kind of in between, like, oh, people are kind of leaving the death metal ship and are now into black metal or new metal or grunge or rap metal even. It's like,
yes.
All right, so everything evolved so quickly, and a lot of stuff happened during that time period. So it was kind of like, whoa. It was almost like the ground was a little bit unsteady. You need to find your footing, you know, to know what you were going to do.
Literally, yeah. So a lot of bands, like you said, man, like it was like everybody just started trying new things, which is, like you said, understandable. You know, we got to progress somehow. New influences come in, yada yada yada. But a lot of people did dismiss death metal and started jumping on the new trends. But you guys, in particular, too, were just like, you know what? We're not really feeling that. Fuck it, let's go back to, you know, massive killing was awesome, but after that you were like, I think we need to kind of maybe step it up and get heavy again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were having this talk, like, all right, what are we good at? Well, look at the first album. That's what we're good at. And I mean, I feel that a lot of bands should probably had that talk amongst themselves and looked at why, like, we can go to Kiss again. I can do that for forever, but like, why in hell do you not look at an album like Rock and Roll Over, or, you know, even the first 2 Kiss albums, and like,
love it.
If I'm gonna do this 20 years later and I'm gonna do a new album, why isn't it that everybody loves, and that when you were actually good at doing it, why isn't that what you're looking at? Why are you like caught in like the 80s when that was your worst time period?
Actually, you know what? Animalize is a pretty good album, though.
No, I know. It's like my first show ever was the Lick It Up show in Stockholm.
Oh,
I went
shit,
to the Animalize show. I loved it then, but it's kind of funny that lately, like, I was touring with Nick's band Imperial State Electric. I was doing sound and you know, kind of semi-tour managing and driving the van. And we had a long drive one night back to Stockholm, and we're all Kiss fans in the van, and we're like, you know what we haven't done really? Like, we should listen through all the 80s albums with Kiss and just, you know, not be overcritical and not compare it to the 70s Kiss.
Yeah.
We're just going to do the 80s Kiss, and then we're going to, like, evaluate the whole era. And I'm telling you, like, those albums have not aged well.
You don't think?
I'm sorry to say, no. I think the production is mediocre, and many of the songs that I used to like as a kid has nothing on the earlier songs. There's not the same energy. It's some kind of like, it's like they're lost in limbo, I feel like.
Right. Well, Vinnie Vincent jumped on board too, right? So they didn't end up changing the band.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I get it. Like, you have been playing for a while, but what I feel is a little bit funny is like I said, when I saw them in 2010, I don't want to hear Crazy Nights.
Oh my God.
When you're when you're in full makeup and playing like you did in '77. What? It's like I don't want to hear "Lick It Up" with that either. That's a different era.
Yep. It literally,
So,
yeah. I want to hear. I want to hear Firehouse.
Like there's some good songs on those albums, but there are a lot of fillers.
Yes, a lot. Yeah, I want to hear Firehouse. I want to hear Dress to Kill. I want to hear Hotter Than Hell. Like that's Kiss to me, man.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
so you guys kind of, reevaluate yourself after Massive Killing. You obviously you toured right after that, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we toured some here and there. It felt like not as much. It was around '95 when that came out, but you could tell that it was a little bit harder to get tours. It was not as easy, especially like Mary. We didn't do any U.S. tours after '93 up until '99, I think, or 2000. It's like that's a pretty long time.
Wow. Yeah. No, totally.
So we toured some, and then we were just like, all right, let's record an album, and now it's gonna be back to the real business,
Right. So, what album was that?
Death metal.
Yeah.
It's just, it's just like what are we doing here? No, we are that. I don't care. Let's do it like we did before. We didn't think that people would come listen to us when we played, but we were going to play because we loved playing and because it was fun, and this is the music that we want to play.
Yeah.
Just back to basics,
Right on. And then, and then you just pretty much, like you said, fuck everybody, we're doing what we want to do, and then the kind of rest is just history after that, pretty much.
Yeah. Exactly.
But you ended up going to do a bunch of other things too, other projects in the meantime, right?
Well, after that, I was working in different recording studios and all that. I played briefly in a band that played more like garage rock kind of thing, but that didn't last because Dismember was always all of us number one priority. But after that, I started doing live sound a little bit, and then I got hooked on that too. So, we kept going and played less. It was hard. Like we did tours that went totally down the shitter. Like,
ooh.
You play halfway through the tour, you realize that you come to a venue that's closed, and you're like banging on the door, and people are like, "What? There's no show here." It's like you show them the poster. It says here that we're playing here tonight, and they're like, "Oh, no one actually." Everybody's shady about it. So we had a couple of, tours like that went totally south.
Holy.
And that kind of like made you feel like, oh, maybe we can tour really. We have to do one-offs here and there. So that's what we did. And then we just kept going, but.
Right. More in the background, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause like at that time too, death metal was kind of like, it was back to underground again. It was with Relapse was obviously still going that whole time and everything, but like a lot of the the scene itself was very underground again, trying to find itself or just keep itself afloat, and nothing was really blowing up, and things were weird, and music again changing, and everyone's kind of like, death metal, it's kind of old and nobody cares and yada yada yada. But like you and myself and everything, we kept the flame going somehow, but it wasn't received like it was in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
Exactly. And you can only do so much. You can't force people come out and see you play. It's just, it is what it is. So you have to just deal with it. And we did, and in the way we could, and, we got dropped from our booking agent and, stuff like that. And Nuclear Blast were kind of like, well, now we have these bands that are totally huge now. And we felt that we're not a priority, on this label. Which was totally understandable, but they still were like, well, you're good here, and we don't, we're going to release your albums. So we're like, okay, fine. That's better to be on a label that are going to release our albums and, pay for the studio and all that. up front, but maybe they won't, push for getting us on any tours or anything like that. So we were like, all right, it is what it is. We can't do much about it.
Right. Yeah. So Dismember kind of floated in the background for a bit.
Yeah, we did, like, after death metal, I think 2 years later we released the Hate Campaign album.
Yep.
It's like, it was fine. We toured the US again for the first time after the release of that one, or if it was just before we released that album, which was a great tour. Short one, but it was fun. Not as good as it was in '93, but it was like, some shows were really crazy. Like, we played in, I think it was in Manhattan, Lower Manhattan, and it was completely, people went apeshit. I was like, what the fuck is going on? We played some mediocre shows like in Springfield, like Massachusetts, and like no one barely showed up, and we played somewhere else, and then we came down to New York and people went apeshit, and it was packed, not a huge venue, maybe like a 300 cap room, but still it was like crazy. It was like, so we were like kind of like, whoa, some people still like this shit, and
Right.
some people haven't jumped ship with their musical taste completely, so we felt good about that. So we still could tour a little bit, and we're just like, let's just do this. But then Richard left the band after that album, or just before that album, and then we felt like, well, now we lost both Robert and Richard, so it's like, oh my god, now we felt almost like we have to start all over. I had, young kids and all that, so
Yep.
we kind of like took a breather, and for a couple of years, and then we got back to it in 2003, like 2002, 2003, we started getting offers again to play shows and everything. So we kind of started getting on the road again and thinking about recording new stuff. So we kept going. We had kind of a hiatus, but
Right.
then we kept going again.
Yeah, it's life though. That's the thing, right? I mean, we all just get older. Like you said, we had kids. They become important, and we just got to rethink some things and sit back in the background. But again, you started doing a lot of the tour managing and sound and all that kind of stuff too, right, in the background.
Yeah, exactly. I worked at a gym for a while, for a couple of years, but then we started getting more, shows coming for Dismember, and people were kind of like, oh, you should record a new album. So we did, and then we saw like a lot of the bigger metal festivals were like, by that time, like early 2000, it was like they were huge suddenly. Like the metal scene suddenly changed. I mean, Bruce Dickinson came back to Iron Maiden. They had played smaller like venues in Europe and over here too.
Yep.
And then he came back, and then suddenly it felt like the black metal bands had kind of established themselves, and people were more prone to listen to other stuff too. It wasn't just like, well, I only listen to black metal, or I only listen to new metal. Now people were kind of like, all right, we're going to have a metal festival here, but you're going to have Korn, you're going to have Slayer, you're going to have Iron Maiden, you're going to have Dismember, you're going to have Dark Funeral.
Yes.
That was kind of like, it wasn't like that before.
No.
So it was like, well, so that was kind of cool to see that. So then you felt like, oh, cool. The blood's starting to pump again. Like, the tide is changing again.
Once again. But yeah, that's the thing though, right? Because I think everybody just kind of dropped their gloves and was like, all right, well, I actually do like, like you said, I do like a little bit of Korn, and I do like a little bit of Dark Funeral, and I do like everything put together in one package. Like it's enough of just being an elitist of one genre, right?
Exactly. And that's great. I love it when it's like that, and I always kind of liked it. I always thought that, like, to see 6 death metal bands that sound similar in one night, that's a little bit too much for anyone, I feel like.
Right.
And I want everybody to play, and it's great that we get a gathering, but if you can instead, mix it up a little bit, then you have different people, and what do you know, a Korn fan might like Dark Funeral, and a Dismember fan might like, I don't know, some rap metal, whatever. It's like, good, we're benefiting by doing this together instead of, shit talking each other.
Yeah, totally. And okay, now fast forward to now, things are exciting again. The old, like you said, the new generation is really digging on, the old school sound and everything. And there's just a whole new genre of, kids bringing up this old sound, and especially with this Swedish sound, like everybody's jumping on that fucking HM2 sound kind of thing nowadays. How do you feel about all that?
No, it's great. I love it. I mean, because it is a great sound. So I love that people appreciate it and wanna be a part of that. I think it's great, and I love the new bands like Leak, Gate Creeper. I mean, I can name a million of them, or a million, but there are a lot of good bands like that. A new generation. I mean, it's not that new, but they've been around for a while now. But they're doing a good thing, because it's also like, I don't think without those bands, I don't think we would be able to reunite and do it the way we want to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't believe that for a second. Because of those bands, we are able to do that. So for that, I'm grateful. And since I know many of those bands, they're also like, well, you guys influenced us, and that's why we wanted to play music, and blah blah. So that's a symbiosis right there. Like, we appreciate it, and you're helping us, but we help you too. And same shit, but 20 to 30 years later.
Literally. Yeah, I know. Now you're getting the younger generation hyping you up again, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess you guys really do appreciate us. Maybe...
Yeah, exactly. No, but it's a great feeling, and it's a great, it's great to hang out with people, and you play the same shit, because it's also fun, because even when you play this kind of music for so long, you're also like, you can still see that people are playing it with the same kind of sound, but they're doing it differently.
Right.
And that's also cool. Like, you can really nerd out, and see like, well, people are like, well, this band sounds exactly like DISMEMBER. I'm like, nah, I feel they sound way more like Entombed or maybe Grave, but that's your opinion. But if we're gonna, get down to it for real over a couple of beers, I can tell you why I think so. And, those are good talks.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And like you said, it's nice to have, this new, generation of kids that are, nerding on this stuff, which gets you excited to nerd out and, throw in your 2 cents on, oh yeah, man, yeah, it does have a little bit of Entombed or a little bit of Unleashed here and all that kind of stuff, right? Like, it's just fun, and it just brings new life to everything again, right?
Absolutely. And come on, it's like, if I would have the same opportunity to sit down with someone from Slayer, like let's say Kerry King or Jeff Hanneman when he was alive, I'm sure that, like, if I was like, I'm a huge Slayer fan, and if I told them this, and I would, like, they would listen to our music,
sure,
they would probably have opinions, and we could have that talk too. It's like, not that I'm comparing DISMEMBER to Slayer or anything, but I'm just saying that it's like, we had me personally have, like, Slayer was a huge influence on me as a songwriter and as a riff maker, and even like when I write some lyrics, or when I fit lyrics into a song, that they did it really, really good from the start. So
and the other thing too, with you guys wanting to come back, was to get almost the merch back in circulation again, because there was a lot of bootlegging going on with, there was no merchandise to buy anywhere.
Well, yeah, exactly. And, we always made sure that we own our own merchandise. We own our own recordings. We did not want to let someone just own that.
Right.
That was very early on. We realized that that's something we had to do, not because we're going to make more money on it, because we haven't, but that the fact that we know that no one else can just like release our albums or sell our merch and take the money, and we don't see a dime, and they're using our name, and they're printing crappy merch and releasing albums that sound like shit, even though we recorded it the way we wanted it was supposed to sound a certain way, but someone fucked up the mastering and the cover, and then sold a shitty shirt for a lot of money to a kid who doesn't know better.
Yep.
that I didn't. I spent a lot of years actually just draining the whole swamp from bootlegs, trying to hit people up and nicely say like, you don't have, we own the rights to this. You cannot do this. I did it myself, and it's. I'm happy I did, because it's today we can actually sell our own merch. We drained the swamp. There was nothing out there that was official. Now we can do that. People can get high quality merch that looks good, that gets delivered on time. It's not overpriced. It's not crappy quality and all that. I think that's important, that you take your responsibility as a band sometimes,
Right.
especially when you're not a huge enterprise. That maybe it's a little bit harder, but then you can also pay people to quality control all that crap. But we always was kind of a DIY band, right?
Yep,
so
totally.
I always wanted to be in control of that, and I'm glad we were, and that we always been that way. So that's how it's gonna be.
Yeah, totally. And it's nice to know that it's actually going to you guys now, instead of like some Indonesian printer or Mexican printer or something like that, right? That, are the bootleg centrals, or Russia, really.
Yeah. So, but the good thing too about like making sure that you're in control of it is like, I understand that in Indonesia, it's not like it's not economically viable to ship shirts from Sweden to Indonesia. That cost is going to be like, how are people who are poor going to be able to pay for that? So what we do now is that people hit us up, we respond, we take it to our merch company, then we make a license deal that's limited. Let's say that a guy from Indonesia is like, well, I can print these shirts. Well, we're going to make sure that the design looks okay. Yes. Then we okay it, and then let's say they print like 100 shirts that they sell, and they give us 20 shirts, or they give us a like a lump sum that is like okay for them. Right. It will make them break even, because they want to do it because they're fans and they think people should have shirts. Thank you. That's nice that you're thinking about us too. But as long as you don't rip us off, we're happy to work with you.
Right. And you ended up re-releasing some old demos and stuff too, correct?
Oh, well, we did that when we were on Regain Records, but that was like in 2005. Now we're talking, like, I know a lot of people are asking about like why our music is not, none of the CDs or albums, the vinyl albums are out on sale. They will be. It's just going to take a little while, because we have been in legal discussions with the old labels that had licenses that they cannot do that anymore. The license, or they expired a long time ago. But now we have to bring a lawyer in to make sure that they give us back the artwork and all the stuff. They don't own any of that. They had a license deal, but they also owe us money that we're owed. And we have to re-release all that stuff, but also we had to take everything down from the digital platforms and all the streaming services because of the rights. We own the rights. We have to put it out by ourselves. We're going to do that with a label that we're negotiating with. The deal is done, and we're going to be out. It's going to be out soon, but we had to take it down, and we cannot put it up again until everything is sorted with the contract and everything. And that has taken way longer than we thought it would, but it is a slow process, because it took a long time just to make sure that, let's say iTunes, that if I call them and I say like, well, I own the rights, I am a representative for the band, we own the rights, they're going to be like, well, not anybody can just call. They made a deal with a label 10 years ago for a license. They don't give a shit who owns the records. They put it up, and to bring it down, you have to show some kind of, contract or whatever that says that this license has expired, and then their lawyers have to look into it, and blah 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 blah. It's a long process, but the thing is also like contracts from what, 2000. I mean, I've moved like 5 times since then. Back when it was like actually paper contracts. Now everything you can find it in the cloud, but that's kind of hard. So you have to prove that, and yada yada. It's just like never ending. It's taking way longer than I hoped, but it's gonna be back soon.
But yeah, like, I mean, that was the one question that a lot of people were asking too, was where is it digitally? So you just answered the question right there. It's you're working
so
on it. Yeah.
It will come up digitally. Hopefully, we're like at the end of getting this contract down. Then we're going to announce where we're going to release everything. And the first thing that's going to happen is that we're going to get everything up on the digital platforms. And it's going to be official. And it's just going to take a little longer. And especially with everything that's happened now, it's made everything go even slower, you know.
But now it's all going to you, though, because now you guys reclaimed what is rightfully yours, really.
Exactly.
Sweet, sweet. I don't know. It's already been almost 2-hour interview here. Holy shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Jesus.
Damn.
It's like, I know. I told you. We could talk about jazz and skateboarding and dance music all night.
Absolutely. If you don't stop me, I'll keep talking. You know, you have to stop me.
Oh, totally. Well, we got any last words for everybody? What's going on? What's happening?
Well, first I want to say thank you to everybody who tuned in. I mean, keep following this live stream and this YouTube channel. I mean, this is awesome. I love it. I'm gonna check out the rest of the episodes. I looked a little bit the other week.
Thank you.
Great stuff. Love it. And you know, everybody hang in there. It's crappy times right now, but hopefully by early fall or next year, we're gonna fucking bang some heads and hang out.
Definitely. Well, I mean, we definitely want you guys to be a part of the documentary somehow, because I mean, this is what this whole thing is all about, really. I mean, we're doing these live streams just because, I mean, we're all stuck. We can't travel. We can't go meet everybody or whatever like that. So in the meantime, we're doing these cool live streams, just like you said, to keep everybody entertained and, keep the spirits up. We all got to smile somehow still. But I was hoping by the Quebec Death Fest that we would actually be able to sit down, get you on camera for the documentary, and get some
Absolutely.
Sweet.
Definitely. Yeah, I really hope that we don't have to postpone that show, because I'm so much looking forward to it.
Holy crap! Yeah, we've been already there the 2 years now, and it's honestly been fucking some of the best times so far. It's unbelievable.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to get back.
Well, it's been a while since you've been to Canada. Oh yeah,
way too long. It's and I've been there with other bands, doing sound and everything. I'm like, why can't we go back there? And the same with the U.S. Like, I've been touring here a lot with other bands, but when am I gonna be able to play?
Soon. Just keep positive thoughts, fingers crossed. That's all we can do.
I know. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, I thank you very much for hanging out with us, and I hope everybody had a good time here. And actually, is there new albums coming or anything? What's going on?
We don't know yet. I mean, we're focusing on doing the shows and then,
seeing what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, re-releasing all the old stuff, so that's out there, and then we'll see. Never say never.
Ooh, okay. Question mark. Awesome, man. Thank you very much, and
thank you. Appreciate it, Cam.
Keep the family safe, and hope everybody's doing good down there.
You as well. Talk to you soon.
Awesome, brother. Thank you very much.
Okay, take care.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Well, eh? Well, that was pretty cool. I just kept going, and that's just what happens, right? Very cool. Thank you very much. Next week, we have obviously more shit lined up. I'm gonna take the Monday off because I just need to take a night off. My pretty much the lady, she works Monday to Friday, and I just need some nights. Just need some nights off, right? She goes to bed early because she wakes up at fucking like 5. So I'm gonna take the Monday off, but Tuesday we have, where is it? The man who's given us this artwork here, Mr. Mark Riddick. he's going to be joining us. And it's cool too, because I mean, he's not, he's not one to be doing too many interviews all the time. He just likes to, just sit in the background and do his art or whatever. But since he's become almost our spokesperson and the look of the Growl, we are going to get him on fucking camera and fucking talk to this guy. And again, go old school, because he's been doing this shit for 30 years. Fucking right, man. So Mark Riddick on Tuesday. Wednesday, we have another old school veteran. I think I pronounced his name right. Ed Farstey. If you don't know who he is, you're gonna know who he is. What he's done for the scene, what he's doing for the scene, and just the shit that he's been involved with, man. Like, this guy has fucking busted his ass and done a lot of stuff. So stay tuned for that one. That's going to be some good fucking underground stories for that crazy shit. And Thursday, we were supposed to hook up with these guys during their tour a few months ago. Was it a few months ago? When was that? Yeah, I think it was a few months ago. But we're going to be hanging out with Peter from Vader. So that's going to be definitely, excuse me, it's going to be a good one. We're trying to incorporate, obviously, globally as much as we can, right? I mean, I again bring it up all the time. I grew up in this area, so New York, Buffalo, Ohio, this New Jersey, all this kind of scene or whatever like that, right? That's kind of my scene. But we have to include everybody else, so why not bring fucking Vader? Like, So, like I said, Tuesday, Mark Riddick. Monday off. Tuesday, Mark Riddick. Wednesday, Ed Farstey. And Thursday, Peter from Vader. So, thanks for hanging out, and hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. I'm going to try and have a fantastic weekend, and hopefully it's nice out, and hopefully we can get the fuck out and do some more hiking and just be one with nature. So anyways, thank you very much, and take it easy, everybody.